Hey everyone, welcome to a special bonus episode of Locked On Lakers for a Wednesday shocker across the NBA. The Buss family is selling their portion of the Lakers to Dodgers owner Mark Walter and the Guggenheim Group for $10 billion. So much to unpack. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter where you get your podcast. This one's always free, never behind paywall. Of course, Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 35,000 subscribers, Andy, all of whom are wondering if they could have scraped together enough cash to make a bid had Mark Walter not had rights of first refusal when it came time to buy the Buss family's portion of the Lakers. That happened, Andy, on Wednesday. This is something that has been, I guess, discussed, what the exit strategy for the Buss family would be. And
at some point, if nothing else, if not this year, this month, this day, the idea that at some point, this is something we'll talk about in this show and over the course of a full-length show coming up later, just the idea that the Buss family remaining the principal owners of this team in 2025 in the landscape of modern sports team ownership was simply not tenable anymore.
Yeah, it was getting a lot harder, to say the very least. Mark Walter already owned, I believe, 20% of the team and had, as I mentioned, right of first refusal to purchase the rest should the Buss family decide to put their stake up. I believe it was 66% of the team. And that is what happened on Wednesday. The deal is not yet finalized, as is being reported. The Athletic is actually reporting that the sale could reach as much as $12 billion in value. But given how the line of succession here was fairly well understood and fairly well known, you would expect that the vast majority of this is settled. Otherwise, the news wouldn't be getting out. So the Buss family selling to Mark Walter, owner of the Dodgers. Should mention that if you don't, if you missed that part. This is a massive development, not just for the Lakers, obviously, but across the NBA.
This is huge. I mean, the Lakers, this set a record, whether this ends up $10 billion, $12 billion. This was the highest sale of any North American, U.S., however you want to phrase it, sports team in history. Like, this is as big of a sale as we've ever seen. And I imagine unless the Yankees or the Cowboys go on sale anytime soon, this is a record that is going to hold, because those are the only two teams in sports that you could even picture an ownership change happening, because teams like the Warriors, the Celtics, they've all gone through recent ownership changes, and those are not about to change anytime soon. It's a record that it's going to hold for a while. There are massive implications from this sale, whether you're talking about culturally within the team, whether you're talking about different ways that the money will, I think we both feel, positively affect this team moving forward. Some of the things that the Buss family, whether you think they were unwilling, unable, a little bit of both, to dedicate towards this team financially, that is not going to be a problem with Mark Walter and the Guggenheim money that he has, and the stakes that he has, and all these different teams, and just the type of wealth that we are now talking about at the head, that's now financing the Lakers. This is a massive sea change. I mean, to put this in perspective, the Buss family has owned this team since 1979. Like, Dr. Buss bought this team heading into Magic Johnson's rookie
Pretty
season.
decent, pretty solid return on that initial $67 million investment that wasn't even just for the Lakers, which in and of itself to go from 67 million to 10 to 12 billion would be again a nice return. That also included the Kings, the Forum, and a ranch. So again, solid purchase for the Buss family there. Time to hire a good capital gains attorney. But I think the big question here is what
Can I
this
just have Linda do it?
maybe good. The big question here, though, is how this affects the Lakers and how they're going to operate, because Jeannie Buss is going to continue to be the governor of the team going forward. How long that lasts is something perhaps we'll talk about in tonight's show. The Mark Cuban example in Dallas could be a pretty good template here. So we'll hold that for a second. But for the time being, Jeannie Buss is going to remain the governor of the team and all this. And the Lakers obviously can't suddenly just start handing out gigantic Shohei-style deferred contracts and spending $500 million and all this, because there are rules about how the NBA operates. But I think there are two places that my reaction initially was you'll see a huge difference. The first is infrastructure, where the Lakers, while they have historically spent on payroll, I don't think they've really, they always spend a lot of money on players, maybe not as much as you want, whatever, but historically they've spent a lot there. They have not spent money as much as you would think a team like the Lakers would in other places,
Should
assistant coaches, front office, training staff, scouting, all these other things are things that the Lakers have traditionally not spent as much money on. They have had small brain trusts and things like that. Some of that is culture, but the culture can be impacted, whether consciously or unconsciously, by either not wanting to or not being able to spend certain amounts of money. So you can justify, well, we just like a small culture, but really you're at least somewhat affected by your finances. And the second is going to be the way the team is run. Like, how the Dodgers have a way of doing things. Andrew Friedman, for example, is technically not the GM of that team. He's like the president of whatever, and there's a different guy who's a GM, and they have this collaborative structure and architecture that I think that will eventually be replicated with the Lakers, whether that includes Rob Pelinka in the short or long term. Short term, yes. Long term remains to be seen. But it is going to be different. The days 5 years from now, I'll say this: the Lakers will not have like a 3-person basketball ops department.
Well, this is something I will make this prediction right now because I feel confident saying it. If Rob Pelinka is not willing moving forward to be more of a collaborator with more people around him, that if they are not at his true equal level, are pretty close, he will not be long for this job. I'm willing to make that prediction right now.
So,
because frankly, there's always been, I think, an accurate perception that if the Lakers wanted to do better than Rob Pelinka, they could. I'm not saying that he's the worst exec in the league. I'm not saying that he's the worst person running basketball ops in the NBA, but we've both been pretty candid in our opinion that Jeannie Buss could do better than Rob Pelinka.
Yeah.
A lot of ways should do better, or at the very least should have more people around Rob Pelinka with an actual voice. And Rob has been very successful at continually consolidating and shielding his power. I would be stunned if that remains a constant moving forward.
Yeah, I just, you talk about this notion of, can they do better? It's not that Pelinka's the worst. It's, can you do better? And, the Dodgers, I think the ethic of the Dodgers now is we have the best of whatever. Whoever the best person is for job A, B, and C, we got that guy. You quibble with it. Do you think Bruce Bochy is a better manager than Dave Roberts? Whatever it might be. But like, Andrew Friedman was the best at what he did when he was in Tampa. The Dodgers took him. They have collected different players different executives to fill in this brain trust around Friedman. Guys come in and out of the front office generally because they're too talented to stay in a lower level position with the Dodgers. But I feel like that sort of thing is going to become much more common, where you see the Lakers improving on their infrastructure by going and finding the people perceived to be the best in the NBA world. It's not going to happen right away, and they're going to make mistakes, and they'll hire the wrong guy sometimes for this or that or whatever.
Look, the Dodgers ownership and Andrew Friedman, they've made mistakes before.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's not going to, again, it's not going to operate.
Got 2 words for you: glass and now.
It's not working out well. It's one of these things where, you know, the way it looks won't look like the Dodgers, because the Dodgers have the luxury of being able to spend both creatively and infinitely. And the Lakers just obviously the NBA just offers far less optionality in both of those categories. You are limited.
Although it should be noted, and again, we're going to get into more of this in a full-length show later tonight. There are more restrictions in the way you can spend, more obstacles because of the CBA and it being a cap league as opposed to baseball. But there may be more of a willingness to go further into tax thresholds to pay more money.
I'm not saying,
and that does matter. That matters a lot.
There could be seasons in which they're willing to spend the extra, you know, where you make this trade and it's going to cost you an extra 14 and 15, 17, 22, 25 million or whatever. I'm just saying, like, there are certain things that you can't change the second apron rules just because you're rich. You can't defer money like they have for Shohei. Just because, but I will say it's time for them to lift these oppressive second apron rules that are keeping my man Mark Walter down. I'm tired of living under this regime. I don't think it's fair.
Viva la Walter.
But I do think what you'll have is just a change in style, a pretty drastic change in style. And look, the track record, we'll see if it translates, but the track record for the Guggenheim folks and Mark Walter in baseball is strong.
Yes,
very, very strong. And if nothing, it just puts the Lakers on significantly better financial footing going forward at a time, like you say, when the family ownership model, the individual ownership model, is getting harder and harder to sustain unless you are a Steve Ballmer, one of these types of guys.
You cannot compete anymore as billionaires partially on paper, which is the way the Lakers have been. You know, I mean, the Buss family, they are clearly rich people. Yes. We're not trying to pretend otherwise, but there can even be levels to being a billionaire. And the Buss family, they're just not the right type of billionaires anymore.
Yeah, it's a burden I would like to have placed on me once, somebody calling me the wrong kind of billionaire. But we'll see. Anyway, plenty more, as Andy said. We'll do a full-length show for Thursday. But in the meantime, Andy, before we go, we do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by OLIPOP. OLIPOP, it's a new kind of soda made for people who love the classic taste of soda, but want something that supports their health. And with 2 to 5 grams of sugar and over 9 grams of prebiotic fiber in every can, OLIPOP is reimagining soda in a way that is better for your gut. Traditional sodas loaded with sugar, like 39 grams in a regular Coke. That is a lot. 44 grams in an orange Fanta. That's even more. OLIPOP flips that script with just a fraction of the sugar, no artificial sweeteners, and gut-friendly ingredients like Smart, a blend shown to support digestive and overall health. It's soda that tastes like the real thing, but actually does something good for your body. I like we were sent some samples from the OLIPOP folks, which I appreciate. My favorite is the crisp apple that we got. This is my particular favorite. What I like about it, it's not super duper sweet. It is lower in calories without having that diet flavor. Again, because it's lower in sugar. So you feel like you're striking that nice balance between crazy amounts of sugar in a soda and some of the weird stuff that goes into making it calorie free. So get a free can of Olipop for yourself. Just buy any 2 cans in the store. They'll reimburse you for 1. Head to drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA to claim your free can. Again, crisp apple, tasty. And you can find an Olipop near you. Again, drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA.
And Locked On Lakers is also brought to you by Gametime. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs for as much longer as they last. The intensity, the buzzer beaters, fans losing their minds. It's the type of atmosphere you got to experience live. And these finals, I think the entire playoffs, they've been really awesome. You have at least one more chance to get into the building in Indiana. Gametime makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games, the finals. Prices on the app, they drop the closer you get to tip-off. And with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat view, no surprise fees, Gametime is a total game changer. The app is super easy to use. 2 taps and you're done. And with the Gametime guarantee, you know you're getting authenticated tickets on time and the best deal. If you find a better price in the same row or same section, they'll credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Gametime app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Full-length show coming up for Thursday. We'll see everyone then.